Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. All right, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in today. My name is Sean.
And I'm Kyle. Hey, Sean, I have a story for you.
Oh, yeah.
I was booking a flight the other day. So I'll let you know about this new program we're doing for Ride a Taxi because it actually is going to launch today, the day that this episode comes out.
Okay.
So we have 6 bike rides that happen in different locations around the country. And, but there's only 6, and the nature of a rare disease is that there's people all over, right? And some people are unable to get to an event. So we wanted to give people the opportunity to participate who can't necessarily get to an event. So we're doing this thing called the Ride a Taxi Virtual Challenge. And anyone can create a page, ride a fundraising page. They can ride on their own and raise money for Ride a Taxi and get involved. Okay. So to launch this project, I am taking a trip in July out to Ohio, gonna visit people in Cincinnati and in Columbus. All right, so I'm booking a flight coming back from Columbus to Philadelphia. There's no direct flight. Literally, there are direct flights, but they're like $450.
Okay. Okay.
And
reasonable direct flight.
Yeah, so
right.
We're looking around and we're like, all right, let's check. If I return to Harrisburg, is it any cheaper? Because Harrisburg is not that. It's like only a little bit farther than Philly from where I live. So we check Harrisburg. There's a flight. There's a decent priced flight, like $140 or something, from Columbus to Harrisburg. But it stops in Philadelphia. I'm like, what? So we're like, all right, well, maybe we can just book that, and I just don't get on the lake to Harrisburg. So I call the airline, and I'm like, because I didn't know if there was like some issue that I just wasn't thinking about, right? I'm like, all right, what if I just get off in Philly? Are there any issues with that? And
sure.
She was like, well, there's just ethical issues. I was like,
wow.
What are you talking about? She's like, I'm like, can you tell me what those issues are? Because I wasn't aware of that. And she's like, well, if you book a flight, you should take it to its final destination. I was like, okay. But she's like, but she also said, no one's going to know if you miss your flight, right? Sure. So I was like, all right, I got the information I needed. But
yeah, totally.
It was just like, why don't you list that as a one-way? And it's only because they want to pump the prices out there. One way's up to $450. If they offered that, they wouldn't be able to. You know what I mean? So, anyway,
that's funny that they're gonna mention ethical issues when they're the ones stopping there anyway.
Yeah, exactly, and not telling anyone about it. Yeah,
or they're just gonna bulk the price up to $300 more.
Right.
So let's talk about your ethical issues, lady.
I know she felt me. She tried to make me feel small, like she was being all high and mighty. I'm like, no, it's not working.
Yeah. No. Not when. Yeah. I. You know what? Now that you say that, I'm pretty sure I've done that before. I forget. I think a trip where I had pre-booked my flight, and then as we got closer, some other opportunity came up.
Right.
And I ended up going somewhere else in the middle of that trip or something. So I just didn't take the second half of my trip because that layover, I think like you, that layover is exactly where I wanted to be. So I didn't tell, I didn't call the airline. I just did it.
Yeah.
But as I got off the plane, I told the gate agent, I'm not coming back. Like, in other words, you can page me all you want, but just go. I'm leaving the airport and I'm not coming back.
Yeah,
and I just did that out of courtesy so they wouldn't stress, or I'm sure they don't, but, just so that somebody knew I ain't coming back.
I think there's two issues. One of them is that if it is the first flight of your trip, like your outward bound flight, and you miss your next flight, I think they cancel the rest of your itinerary.
Oh, gosh.
So, and then the other issue is obviously if you have checked baggage.
Oh, totally.
It's going to go all the way to Harrisburg, idea. Right? Sure. So I'll just carry on. But anyway.
Don't forget.
Seriously. But all right.
That's crazy.
So, Sean, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. What is this episode about?
Well, actually, I didn't warn you about this, Kyle, but I kind of have a story.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Because you mentioned Ride a Taxi, and most of our listeners probably know, or a lot of our followers will know, we had the Ride a Taxi NorCal ride a couple weeks ago, or like a week ago.
It was awesome.
And that's the one in my backyard, so that's the one I normally get to attend, right?
Right.
So I'm out there last week, beautiful Northern California kind of farm town roads, and I'm riding with a group of people that I can obviously tell they know you, but I don't know them.
Okay.
You pass by at some point and you keep riding. So, the way you talk to them, I can just tell, okay, these guys are all friends. So, at one point, one of those guys is riding right next to me and he's talking. He's like, it's actually kind of funny. It's like, Sean, I feel like we have this conversation every year. You don't know me, but I feel like I know you. So I'm like, yeah, no, it's cool. I get it. Sorry, I don't know you. Anyway, it turns out, I'm pretty sure his name is Scott. Anyway,
my college roommate. He may be listening to the podcast right now.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of hoping he is, because I got some words for that guy. And you know what? Well, honestly, I don't know if it's Scott, but he's definitely a college friend. So it's
okay.
Scott or somebody in that circle.
Got it.
So we're cruising along, and he's like, I love your podcast, saying nice things. And he's like, but Sean, I gotta tell you, I love Audible. He's like, there's nothing wrong with Audible.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Of course, I just start laughing because I know exactly what he's talking about, and obviously it proves that he listens. He's not just saying it to be nice.
Yeah.
So I actually really loved it because there's that connection, knowing he is a listener and he's not just saying it. And it was just cool and funny because obviously our listeners will know I've got some major beef with Audible.
Yeah.
So it was just fun that he pointed that one out to say, hey,
you're wrong.
I like Audible. Yeah, pretty
You're
much.
an idiot.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. But it was all good, and I appreciate Scott for listening and of course making that connection. So
yeah, awesome.
No
good stuff.
Real complaint.
Well, so the NorCal ride was awesome. There are plenty of more stories like that.
Totally.
A shout out to the whole Northern California crew, everyone who put their effort into fundraising to make it a success. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for just being there is a lot of fun too. So
yeah,
good stuff there. All right, Kyle, let's focus.
Yeah, let's get it on.
Or the discussion really for today's topic. One of the things that's been, at least on my heart, a lot, Kyle, and you and I have talked a little bit about it, but realizing how much easier life can be when you have a committed partner or a team or coworkers or whatever element you want it to be. So I thought it might be kind of neat, Kyle, to talk about this idea of commitment and accountability to an outside party, whether it's one person or 100 people, whatever it might be. Once we kind of put our goals or intentions out on paper or make them public, it's so much more likely to happen because you know you're going to let somebody else down if you don't do it. So some of the things that came to mind for me is obviously you and I, this podcast, maybe your book, all these different little elements I thought it might be kind of cool to talk about in terms of, to us, or to me at least, it's obvious that it's working or it's come to pass only because we had some accountability or commitment to an outside party.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you were saying for this podcast, we've talked about it multiple times that this, we would not be on the air or on recording at all if it weren't for, depending on each other. And
for sure,
I think that's one of the desires in life for everyone. Like it's primal or like fundamental or something that we want to be depended on. Yeah. We want to matter, right? And so when we can put ourselves in situations where other people are depending on us to pull through, I think it makes us feel really good. And I mean, the sort of on the same level, like you were saying, accountability, like someone's depending on you. And so those are two sides of the same coin. Well, maybe they're the same thing.
No, I think it works. Any word everybody's got their favorite buzzwords, I guess, if you will, but it's life is easier when you know somebody's relying on you.
Yeah.
And easier, not because it's smoother, but I mean easier because you have a little bit of motivation, hopefully, beyond your own agenda or your own selfish stuff. If I didn't have to be at work, or if I knew my coworkers weren't waiting for me to show up, then I'd probably just stay in bed. Like, honestly, I love to sleep. And it's not a drag for me to go to work. And sure, I like making money. But part of it is not wanting to let my teammates down.
Right.
Not wanting them to pick up my slack.
Yeah.
So I think when you know other people are relying on you, it's so much easier to execute some of the things in your life. And I'm sure this is no newsflash to anybody. So I thought it would be fun or valuable if we just encourage people in that regard. We're halfway through the year, and everybody probably has New Year's resolutions to talk about or that they put down on paper at some point. If nobody's expecting you to perform or to execute, then maybe take an honest look at your own performance. Are you any closer to your goal? One of the ones I remember we talked about it online, is to read more books.
Yeah.
And I think I said 15, but I know for a fact somewhere I wrote 20. Yeah. So I don't know what the original commitment was, but now I'm committed to 20. Right. Well, if I didn't have people kind of knowing that, then why read? Like, who am I going to let down? Just me. And sure, nobody's going to be let down because I didn't read a book, but they're going to look at me like, couldn't hang, huh?
Yeah, no, I remember our push-up challenge, right? 100 push-ups every single day for a month.
Yeah.
And I totally wouldn't have done that if you weren't being like, dude, did you do your push-ups today? Or we weren't like, if we weren't like posting it on our website for everyone to see, that never would have got done.
Totally. So I think, obviously you mentioned it. This podcast is a great example. If I didn't have you as a co-host or you didn't have me, I know this would still be an idea we talk about.
Absolutely.
Like it just wouldn't happen. So I wonder, maybe for our listeners, what is going on in your life, or what's something that maybe is important to you that you've been a little slow to take action on? I wonder if maybe your first step or your first point of action could be or should be telling somebody else what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. And maybe that commitment and that accountability will help you actually get to the gym or get out of bed or get that thing done or start working on that painting or that book or whatever it is that's important to you.
Yeah. So I have a couple of examples. One is one that you know really well. I was blogging about Race Across America. And as soon as I started writing about it and telling other people, telling the world about it, that's when it really became real. I'm like, oh my gosh, we really have to do this now, you know?
Sure.
Another thing, I talk about the story in my book, but there were two key people that gave me donations for my very first ride. Mark Boguki and Norman Simpson. And they combined, they pledged a total of $3,000, and that was like more money than I could even imagine at that point. You know, I didn't even know if anyone would be interested in what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think being able to bounce it off other people and see what they think, I think that helps us kind of frame it in our mind as well. Like, if Norm and Mark were just like, oh, that sounds kind of dumb, actually. Like, that, you know, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. But, you know, and then...
Or even if they said, oh, yeah, sounds cool, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, whether they were downplaying it or encouraging you.
Yeah, or if I would have run the idea of the podcast by you 2 years ago, and you would have been like, all right, that sounds cool. What else is going on? Like, it would have been a much different idea, right? Or a much different situation. So, yeah.
I think I like, too, that you bring up your book, because I think you make a valid point. Not only is it talked about in your book, but the film... Everything that you and I, or a lot of things that you and I do, ride a taxi, for example.
Yeah.
The whole point is to raise some money for research and raise awareness, which hopefully in turn means more money.
Right.
Part of the reason that makes it easy for you to show up every trip, for Felicia and Jamie to plan, you know, for all the different little logistics, all these things that make it work. I think knowing that there are upwards of 15,000 patients and families across the globe hoping and waiting and relying on us to help move the needle forward. And when I say us, I mean the whole community. I don't mean you and me or the two disabled. I mean the whole community. People are relying on us to make a difference in their little boy's life or their little girl's life or their dad's life. And to me, that makes it easy to pedal when it's 100 degrees outside.
It
makes it easier to pedal in the middle of a storm.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm not going to get angry, but it makes it, you know, it makes it doable. Like, we still kept going, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that you bring in the whole community, because I think that was a transformation for me, thinking back. You know, I was, and probably for you too, probably for everybody at some level, right? I was this one guy, and nobody else knew about Friedrich's ataxia as far as I knew, right? And, you know, and then 20 years later, or whatever it is, here we are, part of a community, and we're confident that our efforts are helping the whole community. It's not about me anymore. It's not about you. It's about all of us together, moving forward and depending on each other. And I think we get a whole lot more done that way.
Totally. I want to ask you a question about your book. I feel like I know the answer, so sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
No, please.
But how, when going back however long, when you said, okay, I'm going to write a book, how many years went by before you got an editor?
Oh my God, like 8.
And then once you committed to an editor and you got serious because somebody held, some accountability and they were relying on you to draft some pages, how long did it take between signing your editor to production or a final draft?
About 3 years. So
right? That's a perfect example.
Yeah, that's a total of like 11. But I think your point though was that it was 8, and then that was reduced to 3, right? Is that was that? Yeah, exactly.
In a sense, because those 8 years, I mean, besides your mom and dad and a few others knowing you wanted to write a book, there really was no hard commitment. It was just an idea. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people were very encouraging, like, oh, yeah, you should. But until you made the commitment and maybe put some money on the line, I don't really know how it all works. But until you had some deadlines and a process, it would have been another 8 years maybe.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be done now. And I hesitated to even tell anyone that I was writing a book because I was like, I don't even know if this is going to get done. Even when I was working with my awesome writer, Alex Schnetzler, there were plenty of times during that 3 years when I was like, what am I doing? Like, is this even worth it? But I really do think it was because of our commitment to each other. We both really valued the project. Alex, and and we were committed to getting it done together. So,
for sure.
I guess the point was that I feel like I could have put it out there within sometime in those 8 years to the community, to the general public, and started telling people what I was doing. And that might have given me a little more impetus to actually get something done. So, lesson learned there.
Yeah, right. And I keep saying editor, but writer is what I meant. Somebody that helps put your thoughts on paper. So, yeah, I didn't mean, but both are important in the process.
No, sure. He's an editor, writer, all those things for sure. But anyway, yeah. So, I mean, it is all about accountability and, like, the pressure on myself to be like, if I said this, I better get it done, right? So, I feel like a lot of times if we're able to put it out there and have a plan around it, that's only a good thing to have that pressure on us to actually get stuff done, as long as we decide that it's really something we want to do,
Totally, yeah. It's a waste of your time and energy if you just say you're going to do it, but you don't really care or you don't want to do it.
Right.
In fact, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I recently put together a vision board. One of my friends, she's got her vision board, and I was like, I need to do this too. So I put together a vision board, and I just have like a few quotes on there and like some images of people that I really respect, and like I want to buy a condo soon, so I put that on there with a big the word sold across the front of it. And like I was, especially when I read a book that you recommended, The Secret Art of Not Giving an F, that book.
Oh yeah, the subtle art.
The subtle art, yeah. I put on my vision board. I found an image of the word victim with a line through it, because I really want to eliminate the victim mentality in like everything I do. And so anyway, it's just a visual representation of all the things that I want. Not only solid goals, but ideals as well, and I put it on my wall right in front of my rowing machine. So I see it like every day when I get up to do my rowing. So
that's hugely valuable. I think just the act of writing it down, keeping it in front of you, or listening to your own tape, or whatever it takes. So I love that you mentioned that. I just started working with a life coach sort of program. A couple of friends of mine are developing a new program, so they're coaching me with some things. And just in the last few weeks of working with them, I've noticed some improvements in my own daily habits, and they're daily habits that I identified that I wanted to take years ago.
Right.
But, stuff falls through the cracks, or I get too tired, or I'm too busy. And now, for the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe, I can say confidently that I've executed every single day what's most important to me.
That's awesome.
And that's only true because I know at the end of the day, I've got a report card to make, and I've got some friends on the other side of the phone or other side of the video saying, how you doing with that? How's that coming? Where you at? And if I miss the mark, it's not like I'm in trouble. This is my plan. It's my vision. It's my vision board. So nobody's telling me it's a dumb vision. They're just helping me execute my own vision. And it's been such an incredibly powerful and eye-opening experience.
That's awesome. I love that. It just feels so good to actually take action on all these things that are swirling in your head and like sort of nail them down in a way, right? Like,
totally.
All right, here, let's do this. Boom, done. And then, move on to the next thing. So that's awesome.
And I think this helps kind of lay the groundwork for something Kyle and I wanted to share with you, or, something we want to share with our listeners. We don't have a whole lot of detail to offer you, but I will say that Kyle and I love what we're doing here with this podcast. We love the interaction. We're having a lot of fun. And I'm sure everybody knows we don't make money doing this. This is just a side gig. We've had some cool interactions and events that we've been able to attend. But we're so incredibly grateful that you show up every Monday or whenever and listen.
Right.
So Kyle and I, over the last year, or even 2 years, I guess, we constantly write down ideas. Things that we would like to roll out, things that we would like to enhance, things that we would like to introduce, things that we want to figure out. But I guess the biggest thing that keeps us from actually executing our dream list for us is time.
Yep.
So, Kyle, we were talking about maybe backing off a little bit. What do you think? How should we tell our listeners that we're not going anywhere, but we are going to take some time to retool the Two Disabled Dudes podcast?
Well, and I want to add to the reason that I think we're doing this, because we want to do better. We want to execute on all these ideas. So I think we want to take a little time off to regroup. We've been doing this constantly, literally constantly for 2 years. So, I think we're going to take a little break on the consistent production.
Totally.
And which doesn't mean that we're going to disappear. I mean, there may be an episode intermittently throughout the next couple months, but we really want to. Sean and I are not taking time off. Yeah. We're just taking time off of recording. We're really going to hit the books, I guess, and
totally.
Plan out the next period of time for the Two Disabled Dudes podcast so it can be more effective and so it can work with all the other things that we have going on. I think we've been just surviving a lot lately, and it's been great. I've been really enjoying it, but I think both of us want to do more than survive, right?
Totally. And I think you're right. We both believe this podcast has a lot of potential, and hopefully our listeners agree. So we're just going to spend a little bit of energy on figuring out what we can do and how we can do it without the pressure of producing every 7 days.
Yep. So
I guess to reiterate, I do want to just reiterate, we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere. This is not goodbye. Right. Kyle and I will still maintain emails and the website and Facebook and all that. So
yeah, check us out on
if you
social
have
media.
An idea, yeah, or you have an idea or you want to talk, like we're still here doing our thing. We just can't promise weekly episodes for a while. And we're not sure what a while is, but a while.
Yep, there you go. So
we do hope we don't lose you in the process. Of course, we'll come back loud and proud when we're ready to stay on top of a weekly commitment or a regular commitment, and you'll know it, and you can sync right back up. So I guess in the meantime, for those of you who have yet done it, you have 80 episodes to catch up on.
Yep.
So now is a good time to do just that.
Yep. And I think the bottom line is that we appreciate everyone listening.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the reasons we want to do this is so we can produce a better product or improve things, whatever, because we appreciate it and we want to work to show that we appreciate everyone listening. So.
Yeah, if we didn't have listeners, this
what the heck are we doing this for, right? Yeah. I don't like hanging out with you that much, Sean.
Right.
There's got to be a reason.
Like, yeah, totally. I'm with you. Agreed.
Nice.
Well, cool stuff. Great, beautiful.
Yep.
Listeners, thank you for putting up with us and listening every week.
Yep.
We look forward to new and fresh stuff down the road.
Sounds good. We're looking forward to seeing you soon, and thanks so much.
Talk to you later. Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
Find us online at twodisableddudes.com and please subscribe on the iTunes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And special thanks to our audio producer, Jake Tompkins.
Until next time, keep living with urgency.